Hi, I'm Ron with Solutions TV, and welcome to Solutions TV. We've been talking about shame and how it affects us emotionally, how it affects us physically last week, and this week we're going to talk about shame in relationships. You know, Proverbs chapter 14, verse 8 says that the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way. Not everybody else's way, but to understand your way. Because, Jesus said in John 9:41, he said, you'd be without sin, but the problem is that you say you see. The truth is when we have it in our head that this is the way it is, we can't see anything else. Our problems, even according to the Apostle Paul in Romans 7, verse 5, he said, when we were in the flesh, it was the emotions of sin. In the King James, that's an old King James word called motions, but it means emotions. We were the emotions of sin that came by the law. They worked in our flesh, and they produced death. These feelings of condemnation, shame, expectation of judgment, or condemnation, those are the things that's bringing death in our life. And they bring death into our relationships as well. Feelings of shame, or the attempts to avoid such feelings, are the root of most relationship problems. Furthermore, the painful experience of shame is so unbearable that it's often bypassed or repressed. This results in one or both members of a couple to start to withdraw, to blame one another or criticize one another, rejecting or being dismissive towards one another. And whatever passive control a person has, a lot of times even people become what psychologists call obstructionist. Now, an obstructionist is someone who deliberately delays a solution, or they just concede to everything. Their resistance to following through with expectations on any interpersonal or even occupational situation, they just can't follow through. It's their way of saying no without saying no. That's a personality trait that's marked by a pervasive pattern of negative attitudes. A lot of times they can seem extremely passive and agreeable, but the truth is they disavowed, or they've never committed to anything. So they resist in a relationship by not saying anything. It's the same kind of person that says, I told you so at the end. It's that person that says, I didn't commit to that. That was your idea. Now, a lot of times this same pattern that's caused by shame can manifest itself in what I call learned helplessness. Have you ever seen a dry drunk? They're not a drunk. They're not drinking anymore. Maybe they used to be a drunk, but they may have never drank in their life, but they're like, oh, baby, can you just do this for me? Can you get me one of them? Can you get me one of those? They procrastinate all the time. They just can't commit to doing the things they need to do because they want someone else to do it for them. Stubbornness, resentment, sullenness, or even deliberate, repeated failure to accomplish requested tasks for which they're responsible for. You put that into a relationship, and the crazy thing is they make you feel like it's your responsibility to do it. In the secular world, we just call it mind games. They're designed to make the passive aggressor or the person that doesn't say anything looks superior, so they can have a sense of feeling like they're smarter. Shame is often one of the most important components of a struggle just for control. You know, fear of intimacy is a result of shame. It's acted out of anger and usually the inability to trust. The final result can be a chronic isolation or a constant struggle for control. They feel like a victim or they blame others. It's not my fault. They're looking to blame. It's that right-wrong thinking. To let go of control is to feel that the shame and the blame of the relationship belongs to one person. Well, I've been a counselor for over 20 years, and it's never just one person's fault. And that one's feeling or being a point of view can never seem to be acknowledged. You know, Adam blamed his wife. Eve blamed the serpent. Adam ultimately blamed God and said, "This woman you gave me." That's the real problem. He blamed God to avoid the pain of shame. Blaming is the common way that partners protect themselves from the pain of shame. When partners blame each other, neither person really feels heard. And the truth is, they really never feel understood. Both are too busy defending themselves instead of listening to what the other partner is saying. Mutual blaming leads to an escalation of shame and then even more blame, increasing the tension and the distance you feel between you and your partner. It makes communication and intimacy more and more difficult. Escalating shame most frequently occurs when partners end up in roles of the pursuer and the distancer. When the distancer withdraws, the pursuer wants to pursue even harder, which makes the resistor withdraw even more. And it leads to the seemingly endless conflict or an impasse. An important element of this cycle is the fact that both partners often feel shame for their respective feelings or their needs. The pursuer feels rejected or shamed for wanting too much, and the distancer may feel shame for either being uncomfortable with closeness or just wanting more space. Each person feels criticized or shamed by the other, each not realizing that they're both having the same experience, the experience of just feeling those emotions of shame that are killing us. You know, couples counseling is a place where such problems as escalating blame can be looked at, hopefully in a safe place without shaming, without a shaming environment. The first step in couples counseling for each of the partners is to be heard first. If not initially by the partner, at least by someone else that has a caring ear. Once each partner's point of view is heard without being interrupted, try that on for size, no longer feeling the need to argue one's own point of view, each partner is better able to listen to the other partner, as well as more effectively talk about what's really bothering them. In a safe environment, it becomes easier to reveal the vulnerable feelings. We don't want to feel exposed. We don't want to feel judged. You can create a safe environment in your own home even without counseling if you just promise to listen without interrupting the other person. If not, shame produces rage. That is a conversation that can take place and each partner's feelings, complaints, and needs are expressed. It allows the couple to see the truth of the conflict. As a result, both partners may get to where they really want to go. I'm going to make 3 little statements here. If you're going through couples troubles, which who hasn't? Marilyn and I just celebrated 36 years, and we've been married 36 years. We've been together for 39. Number 1, admit vulnerable feelings. I really miss you when you go out with your friends. Avoid statements like, you always. Number 2, acknowledge his or her role in the current fight that you're in. I know I can be unreasonable or difficult at times, and or just admit the truth. Number 3, attempt, even briefly, to see the other person's point of view. I can see why you're angry at me. I really screwed up. When a conversation includes the elements that I listed, each partner is not only better able to actually hear what the other person is saying, but they're able to consider their own role in the argument as well, without all the shame. Next week, we're going to be looking at what I call collateral damage. I want to thank the partners for making this broadcast, as well as the things we do in seminars all around the world. God bless you. We'll see you next week.